Shall we call the meeting to order then? Call it to order and let's have roll call.
Okay. Agnes Barnarski,
Present.
Dana Syverson,
Here.
Pete Hahn,
Here.
Don Tomish,
Listening,
Here.
Ed Madden,
Present.
Seth Marcus.
Here.
I'm Jill Moskell. All commissioners are present and we have a quorum.
Go ahead.
Sorry, we have a dog issue. Okay. Hold on just a moment. Okay. Then let's have approval of the minutes of the board meeting of February 11th.
I'll make the motion that we approve the minutes that were so beautifully crafted by Jill, as always. And,
Thank you.
exceptional effort.
I'll
Thank
second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes approved. Okay, old business, volunteer work days. So we had a very nice volunteer work day this past Sunday. We had 25 volunteers show up, actually. So it was the first time that we did the announcement through the regular newsletter that we send out to the public. Before that, we were just having a select few attend the work days. And so a lot of scouts came, a lot of children, everybody was wearing masks. We were able to socially distance throughout the entire SLU, and we got an incredible lot of work done during the work day. Our next work day is 2 weeks, or on the 2 weeks from last Sunday. And so far, I think we'll be working at the SLU.
It's on the
We're
21st.
It's on the 21st. So we're about 1 month away from having our final bonfire work day. So 2 more work days. So this one and then 1 more, and then we'll have our final bonfire work day.
I'd like to point out too, what was kind of interesting is when that announcement went out, that was the highest open rate for email we've ever had. We had 144 opens. It was passed around to the tune of like 249 times it was actually open, but 149 were unique. It's like 46% open rate. That's incredible. That's just unheard of. So just kind of goes to show you the pent up energy that people have, and hopefully some goodwill that we've been able to sow, and that'll continue as a trend.
And I want to thank Jill especially for creating a wonderful birthday surprise.
Dana was in on it too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, shall we move on then? Any questions about volunteer work days? Also, actually, just to not end that yet, but all of that buckthorn that Seth had removed on Willow Road was cleared today by Public Works.
I was gonna say it was gone. I just walked past it. I'm like, where'd that all go?
I know, it's great. So
Yeah, Seth actually made a phone call to Mark, I believe, right?
an email.
Right, Seth?
Yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to Mark and the Public Works. I think that's fantastic that they did all that work.
Yeah, thank you, Public Works.
Oh, you know what? I heard it chipping this morning, I think. They didn't happen to pick up the pile on the other side of the lake, did they?
They did.
Oh, they did? All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Great.
Okay, then let's move on to Prospect Heights Public Library Park District events.
Nothing new to report. We have Nature Speaks coming up on the 22nd of April. Mary Lou continues to have her once-a-month bird talks. They're very successful. She's pulling in like 104, 110 people for each one of her talks, and then they're being recorded and they're playing 5 times as an encore. So that's all that's new.
Okay.
Any questions?
have, do we need any slots in the future, or are we pretty good?
Yeah, we're working on June right now, so, we have June and then we have a fall date and, winter. So, we're working on it.
Next is outcome, presentation to the city council, 2/22.
Go ahead.
Hit that?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so we made a presentation to the city council about the boardwalk project, and it was very well received. And so it looks like we can go ahead with, the application for funding for ComEd, which will run by everybody before it's, submitted. And the submission date, I believe, is March 26th,
Mm-hmm.
for the submission of the grant, the ComEd Green Regions grant.
The proposal should be done, by Saturday, I hope. And then I'll send it out to everybody to review and modify. And then, it goes to Christina for final approval because they're submitting the application. And then the rest is just to wait and see what happens in June, July. That presentation was also given to the Park District, and they didn't formally approve it, but they suggested that it wasn't a big deal, that they just had a few questions to be answered, and their next meeting they'll formalize it. So Christina said just proceed. So that's what we're doing.
Is there a chance that we don't get the grant?
Of course.
There's always a chance.
I always just assume we're getting the grant, but, you know, I don't know. Do we have a backup plan in case we don't?
Yeah, we do less boardwalk.
No boardwalk till next year.
Yeah.
We're waiting.
Is the grant proposal just for the boardwalk, or does the Park District include some things in there that they may want to get done? Is this simply us completing it?
No, it's the proposal is coming from the Park District. We're writing the proposal.
Okay.
The theme of this grant application is pollinator habitat and climate change. And so thematically, it has to tie into that. And they encourage the construction of boardwalks and nature trails to immerse people into those pollinator habitats. And then they basically give you all the verbiage you could possibly need to frame your grant vis-a-vis climate change. So
they also really encourage partnerships, which is our very, our stronghold right now. So we're partnering with the Park District, with the city, with the Boy Scouts, with volunteers, and
Girl Scouts, 4 high schools.
Right, internship program. So it just goes on, and I think the reason that we've gotten the grants in the past is that we can really show that we've taken that money a long way. So, they give us 5 or 10,000, and we can multiply it exponentially by all of the work that we do and the plugs and all of this. And they've come out several times, so we'll see. I mean, maybe we won't get it this year, but I hope we do.
And we expect to hear June or July, did you say?
June.
It's late June, early July is typically when they release the information. So I would say the backup plan needs to be discussed. The only real clear alternative to that is to talk to Park District and City about keeping their donation, talk to the anonymous donor about his, anything else that's out there, and then simply base whatever work can possibly be done off of money that we would have in hand and take it as far as it goes. That seems to me to be the only logical fallback.
The grant covers 50%, so it's a matched grant. So theoretically, we could do everything that we proposed, just 50% of it, without that extra funding.
And if we do,
Hard to do anything with 50% of the funds, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, half the boardwalk.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, we have a good track record with them, and haven't they said we're one of their showcase recipients. So unless there's something that, well, we can't give it to them again, that should bode well, but a backup plan is prudent too, even if it is a reduced project.
I think, we have a really strong track record with them. We overperformed on all of our grants, and that's greatly appreciated by all those guys. So I think I like our chances a lot, but we'll see. I think it's a strong grant proposal, and we'll see. So
just to clarify, also, this is theoretically supposed to tie in with an Eagle Scout project too, still?
correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then, do the Eagle Scouts try to raise money or funding or anything, or like?
Yeah, they would. Yeah, absolutely. They do whatever they can to solicit donations, to find any kind of donations wherever and however. So when I last talked to John Felix's dad about that, he was suggesting that he might have some leverage at Home Depot with materials, so we'll see.
And then regarding materials and all that, at what point should we really sit down and do some planning about this as far as how much I know, we've run some numbers and all that, but we were debating whether it's 2 feet or 3 feet or 4 feet wide. And then, as I look at that path through there, it's pretty windy and squiggly, and, are we going to necessarily straighten that out if we're making a boardwalk in there? Be kind of challenging to make all those different angles and stuff, and like each segment has to go up and down on pipes and all this stuff. So there's a little bit to think about.
Yeah, there's a lot to think about. The good news is there's plenty of time to think about it.
Yeah.
The permit, state permit number 6, is real specific in what you can and can't do in order to qualify to use that permit in order to do the project. The minimum width that they recommend is 32 inches, so it has to be 32 as opposed to 24. So that's already gone by the wayside. That whole idea of making it 24 inches. What else was I going to say?
The windiness?
The other part of the thing is that there's restrictions on how much regrading you can do. The boardwalk is supposed to follow the terrain, and then the other requirement is that it's absolutely moored in position, that it can't break loose and clog anything up. So those are like the 3 big qualifiers out of that state permit, and so we have to be really mindful of that. So yeah, it's gonna take some engineering and on-site inspection to try to figure out how to do it. As far as the windiness of it, I think that some of those sections are going to end up being having a slight angle, and they might be 4 foot in length as opposed to 8 foot. So we're not going to build curved boardwalks.
No.
So it'll be straight in angles, and that's pretty much the way it's done. So.
And then, do we want these sections to rise and fall with the various flooding that happens back there? Is that like the bridge does, or are these things, when you say moored, do they have to be static and they don't move if the water goes up?
No, I think they could. That's a question because it severely impacts the the material.
Right. That's why I'm asking.
We got all those posts.
So in our proposal, we did do the not floating, but that when the high rain events come, the boardwalk will lift. So it will not just float away or be ripped off by the water.
I mean, I like that idea for that section of trail, and not infrequently goes pretty deep in water, as we all know. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what I was thinking, and we have to go out and survey the site at some point and take note of when we do have high water events, where those areas specifically going to be impacted. I think, you know, having a section of boardwalk that runs perpendicular to the flow of the water is a completely different animal than where it's running parallel. And so one thought was maybe only where the sections are going to be perpendicular to the flow of the water, maybe those are the only spots that ride up and down on the posts. And maybe it's not necessary where the flow is you know, parallel with it. The other option is that in areas where there's not a severe, you know, level increase in water, that we could use 16-inch rebar J-rods to anchor it down in four corners, and it stays permanently in that area.
I just don't, I mean, just from my own personal surveys of the area, when it's underwater, it's completely underwater. All of those areas.
Yeah.
There really isn't a section that isn't underwater in a very high rain event.
I
I
agree.
think it's important to make sure that doesn't all wash away and get damaged. You know, after all that hard work that we put in making it happen.
Well, certainly the posts would mitigate that. It's just a different solution. So, you know, we just have to inventory it.
All right, well,
One
it's all stuff to think about and, you know, factor in, and we can do it. I mean, it'll be a fun project, I think.
I did talk to John briefly about it, and Felix had suggested to his dad, you know, his dad's a master carpenter, that's what he does for a living. He had suggested to his dad that we set up at 9 and build like a production area to build the armatures of each of the sections of boardwalk, and then put just a few cross members in place, and then the scouts would carry those lighter frames out to the site, install the frame, and then apply the treads in place. I think Felix was suggesting that that, you know, takes place maybe like a weekend before, and build as many of those as possible so that they could, you know, when the actual weekend comes, you have a jump on that part of it. So.
And then for their actual scout work day, also, you know, we can have the younger kids like planting plugs all along there too. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd want to recruit Girl Scouts, high school kids, call, you know, all the regulars that show up for big events. You know, we'd want another massive work day like we'd had at the Marava Center. You know, we had like 44 people there, and try to just belt out as much of it as possible in one day. So.
Hopefully that's.
When we talk about a possible budget, the budget includes materials or materials and labor. What does the budget mean?
Well, if you.
When we do the grant proposal, the budget, well, it's not really, I mean, it's the budget, it's what we're asking for and what money we're providing. So the money that we're providing is mostly for materials, but when we do the application, we incorporate all of our hours. So they're $22.07, or now I think it's up to $23 per volunteer hour. So we actually show how much time and volunteer hours we can put into it. So when we show them, we say, you know, we're asking for 5,000. We're putting in, I'm just giving an example, not the specific, but let's say, but we are going to provide approximately $30,000 worth of labor in this project. And so that's another.
And plugs
and all of this. So really what it comes down to is that we're, you know, as far as labor and plugs and everything else we do, we probably do 90% more than the actual monetary.
Right. So what I'm wondering is that when we're saying that we're getting a certain amount from the city, a certain amount from the park district, and a certain amount from the anonymous donor, and matching amount, and it's coming up to $10,000.
Right.
Are we saying the materials cost $10,000?
It can be close to that, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And is there a possibility when you talk about the Boy Scouts, Number one, they might try to lower the cost of the materials because of their connections. And then they also raise money towards, paying part of the materials?
Sure.
I would say, no stone left unturned. I mean, we can't, by our very nature of existence, we can't go out and solicit donations. That's not what we can do. We can accept them, but we can't solicit them. So, from our perspective, we're in a pickle there with that. Could somebody start a GoFundMe page? Absolutely.
But I'm just wondering, is it part of the task of the Boy Scout who's doing this project?
Mm-hmm.
Is part of his task to try to get money
for his Eagle Scout project?
Yes.
Eagle Scout project.
Yep.
But that is particularly his Eagle Scout project, which ties into this project, but it's not part of the ComEd Green Regions grant.
Right, but what I'm saying is, if we feel that our costs are $10,000, let's say, and the grant is $5,000, so that means we have $5,000 more we have to come up with.
Well, we have 5, and if ComEd matches it for 5, then there's 10.
Right. But what I'm saying is, ComEd, let's say, we want 10. ComEd gives 5. That leaves, we have 5. We have 3 coming from the anonymous donor, apparently. We have 500 coming from the city. We have 500 coming from the Park District. It's possible. Is it accurate to say that the Eagle Scout might raise X hundreds of dollars as well?
Sure, but that would be part of his Eagle Scout project. It would not be towards this ComEd Green Regions grant.
Well, it would be towards the project.
It would be towards the project. It is not going to be incorporated into the grant proposal.
Right.
Because you need to have an amount that you can say that this money is here and this is how much we're going to give, for sure.
The grant references the fact that the Scouts will be looking to solicit donations from the big box stores.
Yeah, I think I've heard you say a couple of times the grant says such and such. So this grant is already written?
It's being written, and before, as I was saying, hopefully I'll have it complete by Saturday. Everybody will get it. Everybody can review it, pick it apart, add, subtract, do whatever. Then it goes to Christina for her to look at and approve and modify. And then Christina would actually submit the grant to
On the 26th, when it's due.
Okay, so I'd like to talk about a few things while you're writing it up. One is, can we talk a bit more about the width? And I also want to talk about the Agnes and I had talked about possibly a little path from the main path going to giving a water view.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with talking about the width.
Okay.
I know you said 32 minimum.
Mm-hmm.
There's some discussion about whether it should be more than that. There's issues of strollers on the path, issues of comfort, in terms of, do people feel comfortable walking on an elevated surface if it's 32? Do they feel more comfortable if it's 36 or 42? Does anyone have any experience in that, expertise in that, know what other places do? What is, for example, Volo Bog, I know, has a huge path system that's elevated through a water area. Does anyone know what Volo Bog width is and others' paths?
I don't know what Volo Bog is. I was just at the Grove in Glenview over the weekend checking out their boardwalks. They got a lot of boardwalks that go over water, and like a similar type of slough type of area, or ponds. And their boardwalks are about, they look like 4 to 5 feet to me. I didn't have a tape measure with me, but they're
Or like an overlook over
they're
that
more like
pond.
5, and I think they're actually ADA compatible, but they're really nice. And I would think 4 would be a minimum, in my opinion. If you have people walking in opposite directions in that, you need room to pass. So 32 inches, I don't think is enough. And just for feeling more secure on it, and that, you know, my suggestion would be at least 4 feet.
Yeah, I mean, from the way my brain works is I always picture a yardstick. You know, a yardstick, if everyone can picture that in their minds, is 36 inches. You know, as John's saying, if you have a yardstick and people are trying to walk past each other,
Too narrow,
yeah.
you know?
I think but I mean, then we get into like a platform, and I mean, what they have at I
Well,
think
no,
the Grove is like,
there's a couple of other things that are at issue. First of all, with permit number 6, if you're going to be hogging out enough space to put 36 to 48 inches of boardwalk into the trail, it gets questionable about when and how you might become ADA compliant.
and then also
the idea
there's
was just let me
there's
finish.
an acreage about how much.
Let me finish.
Sorry, there's an acreage issue
There,
too.
there's a requirement that you that's driven by terrain that says you can only get so much in there without changing the habitat, and that's why you get the exemption.
But I thought we had already decided that it doesn't have to be ADA. I thought that.
It's not about ADA compliance. It's about wetland compliance. It's about
No,
about
but I just want to address this ADA thing.
yeah.
Let me just make sure. My understanding is ADA is off the table. We don't have to do it, and we're not going to do it. Is that accurate?
Correct, but what I'm saying is you push that envelope when you expand the width of it. You're going to have to go in and modify the terrain to accept that, and that's where it starts to move away from what the permit tells you can do. Part of it is you're not supposed to. I mean, the terrain is supposed to dictate that you can only get something in there that's so wide. So now, if you're going to come in and put something in wider,
Then you have to make it ADA compliant because it's no longer just
I don't
a
know
boardwalk.
that. I don't know that.
Right, but then
I'm
it's
just
no
saying
longer
that
it's a platform or it's a.
issue that I'd have to go back and ask questions.
But there's also the acreage issue too. So anytime you have a wetland, so it's all about Illinois Department of Natural Resources and MWRD and the third agency. But anyway, so there's like an acreage issue. So for the square meters of land that you have, you can have a boardwalk, but it can't be a certain percentage and a certain amount of acreage past the area that is there. So that's the other thing that we were.
Yeah, I don't think we would fall into a problem
Right, it's
with
like
that.
5% or something like that.
I would be concerned about having to modify the terrain to accept a 4-foot wide thing. The
You already
genesis
got
of
a 3-foot wide trampled path that goes through there. I can't imagine 12 more inches is going to make a difference.
Mhm.
Well, the trampled path is like 12 inches or 24 inches right now. Be the one that people walk through, I think.
Dana, as we're building this, does an inspector come out? Because I know when you're having work done at your home, there's various stages and you have to stop and someone has to come from the city. Does that occur or no?
No, it doesn't. I mean, we would certainly invite Public Works to come out if they wanted to.
The Park District has said that they
Park
would
District and said that they would,
come out and inspect, yeah,
Right.
during, before and after. Mhm.
Yeah, I personally don't have a strong feeling of 32, 36, 42, or 48, but I do think that we should, do our homework. What do other places do? What are the limitations?
Yeah, I mean, and the good news is we got time to really dive into that, so
Yeah.
sure. The genesis of coming up with 32 was that you get 3 treads out of an 8-foot piece of material. Now, the scouts were thinking 24 inches because they were getting 4 out of it. So they were trying to double up and catch up on material use. So if you're going to 4 foot, you're getting 2 treads out of one piece of 8-foot material. Your material cost just went through the roof.
Well, I have to say, I do feel strongly about one thing, which is that we ought to do it right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we should do it on the cheap. If it ends up costing a little more, I think we can figure that out. But I certainly don't think we should do it kind of, oh, this is kind of okay. I think we should do it absolutely right the first time. And if that means it costs a little bit more money, I think we can come up with the money. But I think we should figure out what is the best path, taking into account the various restrictions, as you talked about, the regulations. We should, all sort of, learn about what are the regulations and what's the best method.
Okay. Sure.
And then the other thing I want to talk about is the where the path goes. As you know, every once in a while, there's parts absolutely where it should go, where it's it's wet all the time. And then there's parts where it's kind of wet sometimes and not so wet other times. So, where we start and where we stop, we should go over that. It literally can be a difference of, hundreds of feet, depending on what we agree on where we start and where we stop. Again, I don't have a particular idea in mind of where it should start and where it should stop, but I do think we should all go out to the site and have a discussion about, this is where we want it, this is where it's not necessary. And then likewise, there's that extension that Agnes and I talked about that would be quite nice, having a little T off the main path.
Yeah, they told me about that.
So it would be nice if we could all, as many of us who want to, all go out and talk about, exactly where we want this.
Okay. Sure. I don't know if anybody's around this weekend.
And I'll send you some pictures of boardwalks and like Bolo Bog. I just looked it up. It's like a 32-inch, but it can also accommodate a stroller because there's a picture of a child with a stroller on the Bolo Bog boardwalk. But that's a floating one, so it's different. It's very different because that actually moves with the water, which this wouldn't.
Yeah, that's a pontoon boardwalk, so
right,
it's
so
a real
it's
different animal.
It's different, yeah.
I have exact ideas of where this thing should start and where it should end, and I'd be happy to share that with you either now or on site if you want it.
Now is the time, guys. Now is definitely the time.
There's also some really great I'm gonna compile something because there's some really great photos of how to make it curve a little bit too with using the structure. So
should we pick a time to meet on the weekend to go out and?
Sure. I'm here all day Saturday and Sunday, so.
We can meet in groups of 2s and 3s.
Right.
So we're not all
So
together.
anybody just wants to come on over and I'll go out with you, and she gets home at like 4 o'clock on
So I
Saturday.
can go out with someone else and then we can just all compile information. And in the meantime, I'll send you a lot of pictures and concepts and ideas that I have.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
Okay, so I guess that was F. G, the 2021 budgets. I don't think there's any update for that.
No, they have a meeting of Jill, you said, I think April 22nd.
Well, that's what Peter told us. Right now, this past city council meeting, and in 2 weeks, they're discussing all budgets. So everything's just still under discussion. We haven't been mentioned yet. They're going by department currently.
Okay.
Agnes, Commissioner or Chairman, if I may. Your budget in total was presented on Monday, but there's no the council hasn't made any determination on anything. The March 22nd meeting, they're going to discuss the CIP, the Capital Improvement Plan, and the enterprise funds. So NRC is not going to be involved in that at all. The Capital Improvement Plan and enterprise funds don't touch NRC at all, or vice versa. But your full funding was presented at the council meetings, and at least one of the commissioners or one of the aldermen, Alderman Wendy Morgan Adams, was in support of it in full.
Okay.
But they haven't made a determination yet. That comes in April.
Thank you very much. And please let us know if we do anything or present or anything else.
I do recommend, because they are Zoom meetings, so they're a little easier to attend, I do recommend that the NRC has a presence there just in case they have any questions about the request that you have presented to them.
What day is that, Peter?
Well, the next meeting that won't affect you guys is the 22nd. That's the capital improvement. The next then would be April 12th, and then final passage on the 26th.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. So next on the agenda is the micro internship. So we have two lovely girls that are going to be joining us the weekend after spring break. And spring break is the 27th from District 214. So they will be starting on the 31st, which is a Wednesday. And so this is a 30-hour internship, and I'll be with them Wednesday mornings and Friday mornings. Wednesdays are my day off, and Fridays I go into work a little later. So from 8 to 9:30, I'll be meeting with them. We'll be doing a lot of plant ID, talking about ecological restoration, basically everything we've been doing. And then they will also have the option to attend our work days 2 or 3 times to complete their 30-hour micro internship. And so one student is from
Prospect and the other one?
Prospect, and the other one's from Hershey.
Mm-hmm.
So looking forward to that. I'll be sending them materials for the next couple of weeks just so they can look at things and read some articles, and I'm looking forward to it.
We're also...
Seth, would you like to be involved in that? I know that the last internship you were.
Yes, I will.
Okay, great. Anybody else, you're welcome.
I'd like to try to attend Wednesdays. I can't make though, but
Okay.
I'd be interested in if you CC me on those materials, that'd be great.
Sure,
Yeah, if you want to just send around the dates and the,
no problem. And then, anytime you guys have any ideas for talking about things, or if I'm missing something, or maybe something else should be incorporated, I already sort of have my own lecture thing that I do, but there's always things that can be incorporated into the education too. But mostly these 30-hour micro internships focus mostly on education, because in 30 hours to make an impact, it's mostly education, not so much work. It's not like our summer interns where we get mostly work and a little bit of education. So.
I also like to just inject here with the District 214. We're starting to make some real inroads there in terms of kids who need service hours. We had 4 over the last workday. 3 were from Hershey and 1 was from Buffalo Grove. So that's starting to see an increase, which is really cool. Very cool.
Okay, moving on to new business. Earth Day and structure of Earth Day activities.
Okay, as far as Earth Day goes, we have the following events scheduled. The 18th of April is a work day. The 19th is Mary Lou Mellon has her presentation on the birds of Columbia. On the 21st, as per Jill's suggestion, is a tour of the remnant sedge meadow. That would be at like 5 o'clock on that evening. And then we have Nature Speaks on Aldo Leopold with Dan Schilling on the 22nd. I have nothing else to add to that. I was just going to keep it at those 4 events unless somebody wants to author something.
I think that's plenty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We'll just have to make sure that we have parking available, or let them know at Crescent
Yeah,
Paper.
Crescent, I'll take care of that.
Okay. Okay, summer interns. So I think I've told everybody personally that Blair would like to be our summer intern again next year. I may not have told Ed, but she wants to come back to be our senior intern this summer. So her plans have changed, and she's going to graduate school, and so that's really great. And I hope everybody approves of her being our summer intern again, because she did an outstanding job last year.
And she's extremely experienced with herbicide.
Yes. Well, it's everything. She's experienced, and she's a very hard worker. And so any intern that will be with her is gonna be whipped into shape if they're not. That's for sure. Yeah. So,
the other possibility is, then for the second internship, we have a couple of choices here.
right.
We can, open it up, go back through the network, run the ad, and take interviews. We also have one kid who has been with us now for probably 6 months. It's Colin. He was one of the co-founders of the District 214 micro internships. And the kid has become really almost obsessed with doing this sort of work. And he's applying for colleges. He really would like to be seriously considered as an intern for the summer program. So at some point we should have a discussion about this and see
Or now, or later, but.
see what you guys think.
I'm for it. I've worked alongside of him. He not only works hard, but he listens to the instructions. He gives it his all. He's a good kid.
Plus, I always think you're better off going with a known than an unknown. And so if there's a high comfort level with him, I would strongly encourage that.
John, Seth, you guys have an opinion? I mean, Peter, you guys, I don't know if
I mean, I think the path of least resistance is to do exactly what you said. I agree with having a known entity is nice. I mean, the benefit of having an unknown entity is they can bring other things to the group, and we don't get too inbred or homogenized. But I mean, there's extra effort and time and stuff involved in that. So I'm okay with what you guys are proposing.
I've worked with Alan too, and he's a very hardworking boy. I'm good with it.
Plus, too, Dana, it may help to also further our connection with the District 214. They could say, hey, look, this is where this could lead already. You're not just doing service hours, you could do internships, and then that helps you,
oh yeah, I mean,
college
that as a feeder system that hasn't escaped us. That's one of the benefits of doing that sort of thing is that you have a built-in pipeline of good interns. So, Seth, you got any take on it?
Yeah, Colin seems to have a true interest in the subject. It's not like he's just doing this to get hours or
right.
It's a passing fad for him. He really seems very dedicated to the field. So it could be quite exciting to have him continue, and it seems like he wants to do this for a career.
Yeah, he's made reference to this several times. I think it's generally where his heart is. But he's certainly comfortable working with all of us, which is big. I think he would be a real good fit with Blair. I think it'd be a real solid combination. So, do we need to vote on this, or should we just go ahead and offer it to him, or how do you guys want to proceed?
Well, I would say if his middle name is Agnes, then there's no decision.
Okay, well,
I mean, why don't we just vote on it now if there's a consensus?
we have the funding for an intern, then we can offer it to him.
Right.
Yeah, right.
I mean, the other part of the option, the other part of the equation is that we would still want to have a formal interview with the guy.
Sure.
There are a couple of things that, we want to make perfectly clear to him that, this is work. And while, work days are a lot of fun and screwing around and stuff, this is a different animal. And I want to make real solidly sure that would be understood. So.
No, that's a good point, Dana. I mean, doing, a work day every 2 weeks is far different than doing it every day, 5 days a week. So
8 hours a day.
8 hours a day.
With the backpack on your back.
And having that big learning component as well. So, it's a real different animal. And I just I would feel more comfortable about it. I'm like 99% there, but I would feel way more comfortable about it, making sure that he understood everything that would be entailed in this. So, if anybody's interested in setting up an interview, I'll go ahead and do that. You just sort of email me when you might be available, and we'll see what we can put together.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. The next one is path maintenance at work sites. I don't have anything to say about that. I mean, right now there is no path maintenance. It's just being trampled.
My only comment about paths, and I think I discussed this with Dana and maybe some others, but there's been a dog waste problem at quite a few of our sites, and so it's especially bad at the Pine Street entrance at Morava.
I agree.
It's very hard to walk in there, and then it's gotten pretty bad along the slough trail along Hillside, and so we've been in contact with Christina. The thought was put up a sign to clean up after your dog and or provide the plastic bags to pick up their stuff. So they're gonna purchase some signs. In fact, an order went in today to get the signs. So I was in communication with Christina about it. We're gonna get at least 2 signs at the slough trail, 2 signs at Morava, one at each inlet for the trail, and then also along Hillcrest Lake. I think we should post 2 signs there, and so she agreed, and so the signs are on order, and we'll place them when they come in.
Those signs have. Go ahead.
Excuse me. Was there any talk of having a trash receptacle? Because when I walk the path, you have to go down by opposite the tennis courts. There's a garbage can there. Naturally, we don't want a garbage can in the preserve, but perhaps closer to where the preserve is.
We did not discuss that, but maybe when the signs come in, we can open up that conversation, see if they can move one closer.
I believe that Christina said that they've tried that little box with the doggy bags.
And they get left.
And they get vandalized, and there's bags all over the place, and it's a real expensive sort of a no-go proposition.
But that's different than a receptacle, like a garbage.
Right, that's different than a garbage can, but yeah, and so the signs that she's ordered have the fine listed for not picking up after your dog. So.
But as a responsible dog owner, you always have bags on you. You don't go anywhere without a bag.
There are a lot of irresponsible dog owners out there, though, and they don't really care.
I know.
And it's evident right now. I don't know why this year, but it's gotten especially bad. It's horrible.
More people are out.
COVID and 3 feet of snow.
But I think the snow. I mean, honestly, things were under snow for a long time. So if someone didn't pick up, or if someone, it's all under snow, and then it melted.
Yeah. Along the library, that area there where the story boards are, that's really bad too. So if you put a sign over by the trail, a lot of the dog walkers, they don't necessarily go into the nature trail, except from Pine. I can see that, but along the creek there, by the library's storyboards, is a special.
Well, we could place one there instead of at the inlet on the library side, and then one definitely at the Pine Street entrance, but one around the storyboards would be good. I mean, what kid wants to walk around a storyboard with landmines all over the place?
It's
And you put too many signs too. That's always not a good thing. I mean, people should know better, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, they really should, and they don't, and
people should wear masks and get vaccinated too, but.
I was in a recent community where another tactic for this is they had volunteers dressed up as Tinkerbell, and they were the poo-poo fairies, and they go down and they pick up all the stray droppings And then if they see you walking with your bag, they give you a bag and all this stuff. And so it's an interesting way to bring awareness to it, and it kind of guilts the people into picking up their stuff.
I see Ed and Jill doing this all day, man.
Well, because I look like Tinkerbell, or because I'm a neat freak?
No, I see Ed in a tutu, man.
I just would call it something a
Ed
little
would be really
different,
good at
though.
Okay,
Oh, Lord.
all right, let's move on then.
All right.
Okay, so anybody, anything else about that? No. Okay. Seed greenhouse program. So, thank you, Seth, for your help in putting all of the seeds, or half the seeds. I put the rest in. So all of the seeds are in the greenhouse as of yesterday. We had a little problem with the window blowing off with all the wind, but for now everything's good and tucked away tonight in the greenhouse. So what we did was we left half the seeds outside, half of them in the greenhouse. So about 7 to 10 days, we'll see little seedlings coming up, hopefully. And so now it's just a matter of checking 3-4 times a day, temperature, humidity, getting the fans, so morning, afternoon, nighttime, making sure that temperature is really good so we can get all our seeds germinating soon. Yep, that's that. Moving on to spring prescribed burns. So it's been wild and crazy. We were supposed to get this big rain event yesterday, which we didn't. And so Cook County Forest Preserve is burning tomorrow and Saturday, and we're not because we didn't expect that, but of course it wasn't in the plan. And so we still have time. I have just been looking at the weather, and actually it's even looking at Saturday. The forest preserves have different sites. They have very high, gravelly, dry areas that will just go up with any kind of wind speed. We really need the low humidity and the wind. And so for Saturday, I think it's like very low wind, and Sunday is very high humidity, high wind, neither of which work for us. Moving forward, I've taken several days off, and then as those days if those days are good burn days, then I still have them off, and if not, then I can just fill them in. I've looked ahead, and Wednesday's a possibility. Wednesday's so far out, it's 6 days away, but Wednesday looks promising. Otherwise, I have Saturday, Sunday, Monday off.
This weekend? Or the following weekend?
The following weekend.
Okay.
So that would be,
There's the calendar.
yeah, so that would be, here, I have it right here. So the 20th, the 21st, and the 22nd.
Okay.
Because there's another system moving through, I think Tuesday and Wednesday. We don't know what the precipitation is going to be like. And hopefully it looks dry for next weekend. So far, but that's 10 days out. I mean, you can't really tell. We got to get closer. So I don't know what your availability is, but I know everybody said that Saturday, I think, and Sunday are good.
Mm-hmm.
So let's hope for Saturday. Wednesday's iffy.
Which Saturday? The 20th?
The 20th. Mhm. The 20th. The 17th is iffy. I could check. Friday. If Friday works, I don't know if Friday works for everybody or not, but if Friday
The
looks
19th?
good, the 19th, I can also try to take that off and fill in the other days.
I'm
Why
pretty
do it before-
restricted to Saturdays or Sundays.
For you.
My hands are a bit tied with that, so.
I think Fridays don't work for Seth, right?
Friday mornings don't.
Friday
right?
mornings don't work for you. We have time. We have a couple weeks left. We have about 3 weeks left for burn season, so.
Yeah, what I'm concerned about is all the stuff that's emerging. The wildlife, insects, all that stuff. I don't want. I mean, it's happening really fast. So we could get.
Normally there's an April 15th deadline, but I think we're
Right.
gonna hit that deadline
Yeah, we're gonna-
much sooner.
yeah,
The first week of
exactly.
April even. So we really want to try to see if we can do that. But
Well-
we don't want to waste fuels either. So we don't want a condition where you know, so what if everybody else is burning around us? We really need the low humidity and the good wind speed. We really need it to be perfect.
Something the ground seems so wet yet.
Right.
It is, but the fuels are dry. As long as the fuel is dry, the ground, you know, we're just trying to get that fuel burned up. So, if the grass is dry, it'll burn.
There's a possibility too that we could do some of these smaller tactical burns, maybe one evening.
Evenings are never good for burns, though.
Okay.
No, the relative humidity drops down in the evening. It's got to be like a 10 to 2
Right.
kind of a thing.
Okay.
10 to 3. Sometimes a little bit later, but. So I'll keep everybody informed. I'm gonna send out emails for the next couple of days.
I'll send everybody a calendar with her open days, and then that'll be easier for you guys to look at and digest, I think. I'll do that right after we're done.
Okay. Because I know some of you are signed on to like John McCabe's email list, so you see that they're burning. But like I said, they burn anytime, and we really need the perfect conditions. I mean, they have sites. They have 60,000 acres. They can pick a site. They can find a site that'll burn. Basically, is what I'm saying. Under the
They use napalm
optimal
also,
conditions.
don't they?
Sorry.
They use napalm also, don't they?
Yeah.
Got
Okay.
good fuel.
Update on the ComEd Stantec Prairie. Dana, you spoke.
I spoke with Aaron, from Stantec, and, they did indeed go out and brush hog, the entire remnant prairie. And then Peter, our champion of the herbicides,
Seth went out too.
and Seth
I
and
did.
Agnes all went out, and then Peter went out again,
Again for another day.
and hit all the stuff,
Not all the stuff.
as much as they could, stump-wise. This is awesome. I mean, this is.
It is, but there's a lot of stumps left. So it's very important to try to get those because it was a wonderful thing that they did for us. And so we need to get out there and get those stumps. So anytime I have off, Eva has offered to help too. She has a pesticide applicator license, so we can go out there and try to do that on a dry day where it's not raining.
Yes, and we also wanted to go back and visit it again when the, rosettes start to emerge, right?
That's not until April.
April, yeah, later in April.
Oh, while we're talking about herbicide, can I, it takes 10 minutes, but just that one site that I did on Willow Road, if somebody could just hit that with herbicide, the stumps.
Yep.
It shouldn't take any more than 10 minutes just to hit the few that are there.
Other than the mixing and the preparing.
Yeah.
Piece of the sticks, I'll go do it in the morning.
Okay, I'll mix it first.
I'll get it in the morning.
Okay. No problem. All right, great. So if anybody's available, maybe Wednesday, if we're not burning then, maybe Wednesday, go out and do the prairie. Okay. PG&SC treasure report.
There's nothing to report. We're still on last year's, or the 2020 budget, and until we get a new budget for 2021, we're flat. Questions?
If we do get a budget, I suggest that we extend the money until until the next budget.
Well, we spend it all up front. It makes it easy for me to track it.
Okay, proactive nature management plan.
I don't know what that means.
We haven't come up with any, so we'll just leave it on the agenda for next.
Can I ask, given that does it make sense to continue along, tacking the buckthorn along, the lake?
Along the lake, yes. I'm not sure along Willow Road, only because of the MWRD project.
I wouldn't do Willow Road. I thought about that after I saw you out there. I'm like, they're probably going to flatten all this anyway.
Well, yeah, I was talking to Agnes about it, just it gets old looking at it every time I drive by, and you know, is it this year they're going to do Willow Road, or next year, or the year after, or the year after? Yeah, it's,
I think the areas that are still left to get buckthorn, go from, Willow Road north to the plantings by John's house. And that's really about it.
Well, then
Okay,
there's
yeah.
a corner still, in Owen,
Oh, okay, yeah, right,
but that's
Right.
overhanging the water and,
okay.
all right, well, you know, I do have some free days coming up. If there's an area you want me to attack, let me know.
Yeah, it would be right around the corner from Willow on Hillcrest
Yeah.
Drive,
going up
heading north.
towards the planting.
Yeah, okay, I don't remember a lot there, but okay, I can check it out.
It's poking up through some of their evergreen bushes and stuff like that.
Okay,
Yeah, you'll see it.
north of Willow going towards John's.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, to the plantings at John's house.
Okay.
Okay. And any announcements to the public?
No, you
Yeah.
forgot Jill's.
Sorry. City civic meetings, I'm sorry.
Well, essentially, I sent you my notes from the meetings I attended with a city council, which is just basic areas that they cover, and our presentation on the 22nd, and then the February 23rd Prospect Heights board meeting, and that was our presentation. So that's essentially it. Nothing more new to report.
Okay.
Jill.
Announcements to the public.
Yeah, I have a couple things. One thing is that it's getting to be lawn mowing season, where people start thinking about time to mow their lawn. And there's some studies out that talk about that if you change your habits from mowing rather than every week to mowing every other week, it's quite a significant difference for moth populations, butterfly populations, and other pollinators. So I would request that the public give some thought to maybe changing their mowing habits. And it's you know, you this way you don't have to be outside and mow so much. It can help in a variety of ways, but maybe change it from every week to every other week. The other thing I wanted to mention is, in part because of COVID, you know, lots and lots of places are doing webinars and lectures and the like. And there's two I want to mention, but there's so many out there that people can get connected with. So many of them are free, readily available. So one is at Mount Prospect Public Library. They have one on April 22nd called Echo Landscaping Native Plant Selection. So it's something that people might want to check out. And the other one to mention, and these are just two, but there's so many out there. The University of Illinois Extension Forestry, I know Dana and I are on this email list. They're doing some lectures in April. One's about herbiciding native invasive species. Another one is about called Providing Suitable Woodland Habitat for Animals. There's another one for navigating in the backcountry for hiking. So there's lots of things that are sort of related to the kind of things that we do, and a lot of lectures out there that I encourage people to check out.
Yeah, this was Aldo Leopold week at the Aldo Leopold Foundation. They've had a presentation every night. They've been outstanding.
And they're videotaped, so you can
And
just
they're
go to
videotaped, so
do you have a website?
now you can go, it's just go to the AldoLeopoldFoundation.com, I think it is. And everything is available there. They're really great, really good stuff.
When is that Mount Prospect Library Zoom, Seth?
The Mount Prospect Library, it's April 22nd which is a Thursday at 2 p.m. And again, it's called Echo Landscaping Native Plant Selection.
Okay. Yeah, your comments on lawn, mowing lawn is really good. Mow high as you possibly can, and even better, dig up some of that grass and plant native pollinators, you won't have to cut as much.
Right, right.
Yay.
Yep.
That's right. Okay.
Doesn't the April 22nd date conflict with our Nature Speaks though?
A different
This is at
time.
2 p.m.
2:00.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Then, any visitors' comments? No.
There are two visitors on here. If, please, unmute yourself if you want to talk. I have nothing, Agnes.
Okay then. All right. Let's adjourn the meeting.
I motion we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
So moved, seconded.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.